An article came out in BBC Inc. Corp stating that Belize is changing their territorial tax system. This actually came out at the end of 2018, but a lot of people have not seen this. The government of Belize actually ratified several significant amendments to its legislation in an attempt to meet transparency requirements under the OECD, among others. This, beyond question, can pose new challenges and create new opportunities for business in Belize. This was a quote that came out in this article. I totally disagree with it. I don't think it's going to help Belize. I think it's actually going to run it in the ground, but that was their choice to make. But in this video, I'm actually going to tell you about the new law in Belize that will allow taxation on Ibc'S. This is a huge change in Belize law. It's coming into effect, and I'll explain to you how it works. But if you want to learn more on how to legally get your taxes to zero or how to get a second passport, as quick as 3 months, do three things. Hit the subscribe button to the right of your screen here, and you'll get new videos as they come out automatically. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, just shoot it to me, and I'll get back with you and see what I can do to help solve your problem. And also go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, hit the button at the top of the home page that says apply with us, fill out those questions, and then hit that button at the bottom of the page that says send it to us so we can help you get started. We deal with a lot of different countries that are citizenship by investment and residency by investment countries I think you'd be interested in learning about. Okay, let's get started on this. To give you a clear picture of these changes and therefore help you make better choices as to building your business in this country, here's the lowdown on the new tax regime that's going to take place. All right, now the changes to Belize's tax regime is going to be as follows. Let's go over the abolishing the tax exemption regime. By virtue of a new territorial tax system that Belize has just revised and implemented, just that all Belize Ibc'S, whether tax residents or non-tax residents, are now liable for both income taxes for carrying out a trade, business, or profession inside Belize, and stamp duties, and these are stamp duty which applies when an Ibc owns property in Belize other than shares in another Ibc. This tax legislation has come into force immediately since January 2019, which is, about a year and a half ago. Some people will affect, some people it won't. I'm going to go over that with you. The Ibc will be considered not just resident in Belize for tax purposes. It won't be resident for tax purposes in Belize if it can pass three tests, which I'm going to go over with you. And that is, number one, is if it's not physically present in Belize, then you're okay there. Its core income generating activities are conducted outside of Belize. You'd be okay if it did that. This is the catcher right here, though, is the third one. It's subject to tax in other jurisdictions. Now, the way I'm actually foreseeing this is Belize is saying if other countries are taxing you, then we're not going to touch you. Well, the reason people went offshore to begin with was not to be taxed at all. So this is, that throws a wrench. It's like, the OECD countries wants everybody to get taxed. So if you're not going to get taxed, then they're going to try to tax you in essence. So if you've, I'm still foreseeing if they're going to be hitting strictly income. What do they call income? Is dividend income included in that? And what other sorts of income are they looking at taxation? Now, I'm going to read this to you so you can kind of hit on the point so you can kind of see this. But the way it works in the case of Ibc's that are registered on or before October the 16th, 2017, they may continue to enjoy benefits under the former regime until the 30th of June, 2021. Ibc's incorporated on or after the aforementioned date are mandatory to immediately assume tax liability. Now, subjecting Ibc's to annual reporting and auditing is, I'm going to go through that with you. Ibc's are obliged to file annual tax returns annually, accounting records pursuant to the requirement of the Income and Business Tax Act. you're going to get you'd have to get a TIN number, and most of the registered offices are going to actually charge you a fee to actually fill this out. Some of them are charging $300 US and up. They didn't have any of this stuff before. This is all new stuff. IBCs that are physically present in Belize must also file and pay monthly business tax. Following entities with physical presence or tax residency status in Belize might be required to file an audited report by the Commissioner of Income Tax. And they are: number one, IBCs with an annual income exceeding 6 million US. Number two, entities operate in a designated processing area in Belize with income of at least 250,000 US dollars. And then number three is any other entity, and they're defining any other entity as any entity that's listed on a stock exchange, restructuring or liquidating or selling all assets by way of an auction, regulated by the IFSC, or preparing consolidated financial statements, and also that the Commissioner may direct to be audited and have in regard to total revenues, assets, and employees. Now, expanding the scope of the business that an IBC is allowed to conduct is a Belize IBC can now actually, these are new changes they're saying for the better. Now an IBC can acquire real estate, real property, or an interest in real property in Belize. They can also hold an interest in any Belize company, whether domestic or international, or they can conduct business with any Belize resident person, or open and operate a domestic bank account in local Belizean currency, or engage in direct investment and trade in Belize. Now, let's go over abolishing intellectual property, which they call IP, which stands for International Intellectual Property. As per the Intellectual Property Asset Prohibition, IBCs incorporated under the new regime are required to abandon all of their intellectual property assets. As to IBCs incorporated on or after the 17th of October 2017, intellectual property prohibition is immediately applicable. IBCs registered on or before the aforementioned date are obliged to submit a record of their current intellectual property for approval to continue holding current intellectual property assets up to the 30th of June 2021, during which all of their approved intellectual property must be disposed of. Okay, now on a side note, the legislation also includes a transition period of 1 year, after which some of the new requirements, including that of tax compliance, audit, and physical presence, will be thoroughly imposed. Impacts of this new taxation regime on Belize IBCs is what I'm going to go over with you now. Aside from the collapse of the zero tax regime and the nuisance of going through a vast volume of paperwork related to it, this legislation could create several favorable impacts upon Belize's IBCs, which are presented as follows. And they are winning intellectual recognition, strictly complying with the requirements set by some of the world-renowned intergovernmental organizations, like they're talking about the OECD, G20 countries, and the Ibc'S initiative. Belize had the potential to alter the public opinion of itself from an offshore tax haven to an attractive financial hub to invest. Oh boy. On that same account, any charge in or amendments to Belize's legislation will be mutually consistent with policies formulated by the aforementioned institutions. This rigor, through demanding as it seems, has the potential to build up Belize's profile as a viable and transparent financial center. I don't see that. I need to see more before I see that. I just don't see taking away the tax advantages in Belize. I don't see it making the program better. But as this program implements, I'll keep you on top of it, because this really hasn't been really implemented. They still haven't issued the TIN numbers. It's still, in its infancy. All right, now let's look at the low taxes they're talking about. The tax rates are 1.75% on companies whose gross profit receipts are greater than 3 million Belize dollars, or in Belize dollars, or 2 Belize dollars to 1 US dollar. So you just take half of 3 million US if you want to get the US dollar account, or 3 US dollars. You take half that if you want to get the US dollar amount, which would be 1.5 million. Or the other is, or 3% on those gross, whose gross receipts lower than that same amount. Now, this rate is by all means puny when they're talking about, when considering all the benefits you reap from having a business in Belize. I don't see that. But anyway, this is something you're going to have to think about. Right now it has not been implemented. They haven't issued the TIN numbers yet, but as it comes about, I'll keep you on top of this. If you want to learn more and keep up with this, and also other matters as far as legally getting your taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 3 months, hit the subscribe button to the right of your screen here. You'll get new videos as they come out automatically. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, just put it below and I'll get back with you on it. And number 3 is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com. Hit the top bar that says apply with us. Answer the questionnaire, and then hit the bottom bar that says send it to us, and we'll see what we can do to help you. We deal with a lot of citizenship by investment, residency by investment countries. I think you'd be interested in learning about. And thanks for watching. I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.